Welcome to the second part of our journey into the world of sleep. If you missed the first part, click the link in the description. There's tons of interesting stuff about the chemistry of sleep, biological clocks, circadian rhythms, and even about why coffee doesn't always keep us awake. In this part, we'll dive into how sleep has evolved over time, why sleep stages are so important, and how they affect our health. We'll also explore the mysterious world of dreams and unpack their meanings. And of course, we'll talk about parasomnias, sleep disorders. Grab a cup of tea, snuggle up in a blanket, and get ready to enjoy a wealth of fascinating information. Sleep has undergone significant changes throughout history and continues to evolve even today. Did you know that just 400 years ago, people slept completely differently? Imagine you're a resident of 17th century Holland. After dinner, you put on your nightcap, blow out the candle, and go to bed around 8:30 p.m. But then, around 2:30 a.m., you wake up, visit the bathroom, and head over to see some friends who are also awake. You spend a couple of hours together, and then everyone goes back to their beds until dawn. Why was this the case? Why not just sleep the whole night through? Well, historical documents show that for centuries, people actually lived with segmented sleep, where their nighttime rest was split into two periods. So, what changed? Why do we stop sleeping like that? The answer is simple: electric lighting. With the advent of artificial light, the evening became longer, and the brain continued to perceive evening as day, which delayed the time of falling asleep. Over time, the two sleep periods gradually merged into one long 8-hour stretch. Coffee also played a role. Until the late 17th century, people preferred alcohol, which relaxed the brain and made sleep easier. But with the emergence of coffee houses, first in the East and later in Europe, people began to awaken themselves with coffee. These coffee houses became centers for conversation, scientific debates, the exchange of ideas, and business plans. Coffee became an important element of the Enlightenment era, helping to fuel the development of science, art, and economics, and later, the Industrial Revolution. But how exactly does the transition into sleep happen? For us, it often feels like a sudden plunge into darkness. But if we observe the brain, we can see that it's not a fall at all. It's a gradual descent through stages of sleep. Scientists have been studying sleep for years using special sensors that are attached to a person. These sensors, which are electrodes, allow researchers to track the brain's electrical activity. A computer reads the data from the sensors during sleep and creates a graph called a hypnogram. The hypnogram shows that the brainwaves become slower as we go deeper into sleep. We first pass through the lighter stages of sleep, from which we can easily wake up without feeling groggy. Then, the brain moves into deeper sleep, known as slow-wave sleep. The deeper the sleep, the more synchronized the brain areas work, creating slow waves. If you wake up during this phase, you experience sleep inertia, that groggy feeling where you can't get out of bed right away and lie there for a while trying to shake off the drowsiness. This happens because the brain hasn't yet switched from slow waves to fast ones, and you interrupted the cycle. Once the brain reaches the deepest sleep phase in a cycle, it speeds up rapidly, and the rapid eye movement or REM phase begins. This is when we experience vivid and memorable dreams. During REM sleep, the eyes move actively, but all other muscles are completely relaxed, which is how this phase got its name. Fast sleep and slow sleep alternate several times throughout the night, roughly every 90 minutes. At these times, your brain is like a roller coaster, and you may briefly wake up to change your position, like turning over onto your side. Closer to the morning, REM sleep phases get longer, and this is when dreams are most easily remembered. If you wake up right in the middle of this phase, or just after, you are very likely to remember what you dreamed. The big question: why do we need to sleep at all? The first answer that comes to mind is for rest. But the answer is actually more complicated than it seems. Your brain never truly rests. Even when you fall asleep, it doesn't turn off. So, what is the real purpose of sleep? When we enter slow-wave sleep, the brain begins to analyze the condition of internal organs, such as the intestines or lungs, to address any irregularities in their functioning. Researchers have tested this on animals. When the stomach or intestines were stimulated, the visual cortex became active, and the animals remained in deep sleep while analyzing internal processes. Thus, slow-wave sleep acts as a kind of maintenance for our body. But that's not all. During this period, brain cells shrink in volume, and fluid from the spinal cord circulates between them, flushing out toxins, including those that may cause Alzheimer's disease. Slow-wave sleep also stimulates the production of growth hormone, especially important for children. In fact, up to 80% of the daily growth hormone is produced during this period, which aids in growth and tissue repair. That's why children sleep longer than adults, 9 to 10 hours, and infants even more. Even before birth, in the womb, we sleep about 98% of the time, and even at this stage, rapid and slow sleep cycles emerge. For adults, growth hormone is also beneficial. It helps repair tissues, stimulates protein synthesis, and promotes regeneration. This is important for wound healing, improving skin condition, and even burning fat. So, yes, weight loss is helped not just by diet and exercise, but by getting good, restful sleep. Regarding rapid eye movement sleep, this phase is crucial for sorting the information we receive throughout the day. Every time we learn something new, neurons form new connections with each other. During REM sleep, the brain checks which connections need strengthening and which can be pruned away. For example, if you constantly repeat a certain action or memorize a song, those connections become stronger and stay in your memory, while unnecessary memories like the faces of random people you saw on the street are discarded. In the first half of the night, during slow-wave sleep, your body recovers, while in the second half, during REM sleep, your brain processes and strengthens connections, turning knowledge and emotions into long-term memories. So if you overload your muscles, like in the gym, you'll get more slow-wave sleep, and if you're actively problem-solving or analyzing something, you'll get more REM sleep. Do you know how long we can go without sleep? It may seem like sleep deprivation is a destructive state that immediately affects our health. But how long can a person go without sleep before it leads to irreversible consequences? Surprisingly, our bodies can endure sleep deprivation much longer than we tend to think. For example, the most famous case is that of Randy Gardner, who went without sleep for a whole 11 days as part of an experiment. He survived the experience, although his brain frequently entered microsleep, brief episodes of unconsciousness where the person seems awake, but their brain shuts down for a few seconds. Interestingly, after the experiment, Randy was able to recover in just 15 hours of sleep, and his condition returned to normal. However, if sleep deprivation continues, the consequences become much more serious. This is evident in the case of a rare disease, fatal familial insomnia, which is inherited. People suffering from this condition cannot sleep for years. Due to a mutation in brain proteins, they gradually lose the ability to sleep normally, and their brain begins to deteriorate. This process can last for months or even years, and eventually, the person dies not from lack of sleep, but from brain degeneration. Fortunately, such cases are extremely rare. However, it is important to remember that chronic sleep deprivation, even if it does not lead to fatal diseases, still has a destructive impact on our health. Lack of sleep disrupts heart function, raises stress levels, weakens the immune system, and negatively affects mental health. Now let's talk about dreams. Dreams are one of the most mysterious and fascinating aspects of sleep. We all experience them, but we don't always understand what exactly happens in our brain when we dive into a world of fantastical images and events. Before the 21st century, it was believed that dreams only occurred during the rapid eye movement sleep phase. However, modern research has shown that dreams can also happen in the slow-wave sleep phase, but they tend to be less vivid. These are more like fragments from the previous day, random memories that appear as jerky snapshots, which don't fully form into complete dreams and are very different from the bright and memorable dreams that occur during REM sleep. But why do we dream? According to the activation synthesis theory, it's because our brain is actively processing information during sleep. The brain doesn't just rest. It processes emotions, events, and memories, trying to integrate them into long-term memory or remove unnecessary ones. Dreams occur when various neural networks are randomly activated, creating images and plots from our memory, which sometimes can be absurd and illogical. Most often, dreams are a montage of fragments of events the brain gathers throughout the day, preparing to delete them from our memory. Another interesting theory is the threat simulation theory. According to this, the brain generates nightmares to prepare us for real-life dangers. It's believed that unpleasant dreams and experiences during sleep might act as a sort of training device, helping us prepare for stressful and threatening situations in the real world. This could be an evolutionary mechanism that developed to train us on how to survive without exposing ourselves to real threats. What about people who say they don't dream? In reality, almost everyone has dreams, they just don't always remember them. The exception is a rare condition that prevents dreams from occurring, Charcot-Brando syndrome, which disrupts part of the brain responsible for perception and image creation. But if your brain is undamaged, you're undoubtedly dreaming, just not able to remember it. This is because during sleep, the level of norepinephrine, which is responsible for the memory process, decreases. People who sleep lightly and wake up frequently tend to remember their dreams more easily because they have higher levels of norepinephrine. On the other hand, people who sleep deeply find it harder to recall their dreams. Interestingly, dreams can involve not only visual experiences, but also tactile, auditory, or even olfactory sensations. For example, people who are blind from birth may experience dreams in which they sense smells, sounds, and textures. This further proves that dreams are not just visual images, but a complex experience involving all of our senses. Many of us seek the meaning of our dreams, but waiting for a precise answer from a dream dictionary may not be the best idea. The same dream scenario can have entirely different meanings for different people. For example, one person might dream of getting lost in a dense forest. For one individual, this could reflect a recent nature hike. For another, it may symbolize confusion over a difficult life choice. And for yet another, it could be the result of watching a wilderness survival movie the night before. Dreams often mirror our reality, processing events from the day. Studies show that the content of dreams can vary depending on the region. For example, in Los Angeles, people often dream about earthquakes. In Chicago, it's strong winds and skyscrapers, while in Miami, hurricanes and beaches dominate their dreams. However, there are dreams that people worldwide tend to experience, such as falling from a height, trying to escape from someone, or failing an exam. These dreams fit perfectly into the threat simulation theory, which suggests that the brain models dangerous and stressful situations to prepare us for them. Sometimes dreams can be even weirder. For instance, people might dream of deceased relatives calling them to the afterlife, or see a scenario related to illness, only to later become sick. Some scientists believe that such dreams may be signals from the body about problems that haven't yet been consciously recognized. For example, a dream in which you were stabbed in the stomach could be a sign of an emerging ulcer. However, not all dreams point to illness. It's better to have a routine checkup rather than panic. As for dreaming of a deceased relative, it's not unusual. Maybe you recently came across their photo or are simply missing them. What about prophetic dreams? They astonish us with their accuracy, but in reality, it's not magic. It's the brain's constant process of predicting and assessing probabilities. For example, you might dream of getting into an accident, and the next day, it happens in real life. But this coincidence could simply be because you frequently break traffic rules, and your brain noticed this, made conclusions for you, and sent you a warning in the form of a dream. When the prediction comes true, we call it a prophetic dream and start believing in mysticism. But who remembers all the dreams where predictions didn't come true? No one. This is the survivor's bias effect, a lucky prediction amid thousands of failed ones. Sometimes, dreams can confuse us even more. For example, you might dream that you wake up, start going about your day, but then notice something strange, an absurd detail, like the door from your room leading not to the hallway, but directly into your office. This is called a false awakening, and it can happen several times during the night. People who are able to wake up within their own dream often gain the ability to perform another trick. Those familiar with this will know exactly what I'm talking about. This is lucid dreaming, when parts of the brain that control consciousness, memory, attention, and planning become activated during sleep, allowing the person to take control of the course of their dream. It's like realizing you're in a play and knowing you can improvise rather than follow the script. One popular technique for entering a lucid dream is reality testing. The idea is to ask yourself repeatedly, "Am I dreaming?" so that you can later ask yourself this question within a dream. However, science is still unsure how safe lucid dreaming can be. There is a belief that it might disrupt sleep cycles, leading to various disorders. These disturbances are often linked to parasomnias, conditions where sleep issues go beyond normal problems. Parasomnias are sleep disorders that can be so severe that people may have to tie themselves to their beds to avoid injury. This is often necessary for those with a condition known as rapid eye movement sleep behavior disorder, RBD. People with RBD are not violent, but they may engage in active movements, running, or fighting off nightmares during sleep. The problem is that the connection between the brain and muscles remains active, and movements from the REM sleep phase are carried over into the waking world. Because of this, people sometimes need to tie themselves to avoid injury or harming others. A similar disorder is sleepwalking or somnambulism. People with this disorder get up and move around while asleep, but their brain doesn't fully wake up. Emotions, perception, and motor functions become active, while memory and consciousness centers remain inactive. As a result, the person may do strange things, like opening doors, wandering around the house, or even engaging in eccentric activities like singing or dancing. Sleepwalkers are typically only a danger to themselves, so it's important to limit access to hazardous objects, for example, by installing locks on doors to prevent them from leaving the house or covering sharp corners. However, sleepwalking can sometimes be more dangerous. For example, 23-year-old Kenneth Parks from Canada once woke up with blood on his hands in his wife's parents' house. He had no memory of how he got into the car, drove several miles, and then strangled his father-in-law and stabbed his mother-in-law to death with her own kitchen knife. The investigation revealed that his brain waves were abnormal, and the incident happened after 2 days of sleep deprivation. Ultimately, he was acquitted, and experts determined that his actions were related to a sleep disorder. There's one condition where you don't need to worry about uncontrollable nighttime actions. It's narcolepsy. People who suffer from this disorder often sleep for 10 hours at night, but still can't resist the urge to sleep during the day, dozing off at the most unexpected moments. Even when they are awake, their body still demands rest. Sometimes narcolepsy takes on more extreme forms, like narcolepsy with cataplexy. Imagine you are at work, doing your usual tasks, and suddenly, all your muscles relax and you fall asleep. People with this disorder can fall asleep at any time, even in the most inappropriate situations, whether it's during exercise, in a restaurant, or even while driving. They should also avoid strong emotions, such as laughter or stress, as these can trigger a narcoleptic seizure. Narcolepsy is often accompanied by another unpleasant condition, sleep paralysis. A person may wake up and realize they can't move, experiencing panic. Sometimes, they feel as though there's something nearby, a shadow, an ominous figure, or even a mythical creature. But there is a logical explanation. Sleep paralysis often occurs due to stress and exhaustion. In different countries, sleep paralysis is perceived differently. In Egypt, it's believed that a jinn is responsible. In Italy, it's an old woman. And in South Africa, it's a dwarf. Indeed, in countries where people grow up hearing scary legends, sleep paralysis occurs more frequently. For example, in Egypt, where people fear jinns, this condition happens twice as often as in Sweden, where it is explained by stress. So, while sleep paralysis can be frightening, it's a relatively harmless condition that occurs at the border between sleep and wakefulness. And finally, the most boring of all parasomnias, insomnia. Insomnia isn't just an unpleasant state where you can't fall asleep. It's an entire world where you spend sleepless nights thinking you're about to drift off, only to find that you're endlessly replaying your thoughts, going over the events of the day, and constantly trying to guess how much time is left until dawn. Sound familiar? If so, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Insomnia can take many forms. Sometimes it's just a temporary disruption caused by stress or a temporary problem. You're worried about something, you're struggling with an issue, and now it's the third night in a row you can't sleep. In these cases, insomnia tends to go away on its own as soon as the source of stress or worry passes. But sometimes it's not that simple, and insomnia turns into a chronic problem. You fall asleep, but wake up every half hour. Your thoughts prevent you from getting restful sleep, and you begin to notice how your condition worsens. Lack of sleep becomes not just unpleasant, but a true nightmare. One of the most common myths about insomnia is that you just need to push through it, and everything will be fine. In reality, this only makes the situation worse. The more a person worries about not being able to fall asleep, the harder it becomes to find peace. Recommendations for improving sleep vary, but all of them focus on creating an atmosphere of relaxation and comfort. Sometimes lifestyle changes help, such as reducing stress, improving daily routines, and cutting out caffeine and alcohol before bed. In some cases, professional help is necessary, as insomnia can be a symptom of deeper issues like depression or anxiety disorders. Interestingly, even scientists don't have a unanimous opinion on how to treat insomnia. There are different approaches, from cognitive behavioral therapy to medication, but all of them require patience and time. Because if insomnia is left untreated, it can develop into a chronic condition that becomes much harder to fix. Well, our nighttime adventure has come to an end. Now you know that sleep isn't just a time for rest, but a whole process where your brain and body undergo a real upgrade. And if you happen to find yourself swimming with sharks or chasing after a bus, don't worry. It's just your brain training you for unexpected situations. So, make sure you get plenty of sleep, because it's during sleep that all your superpowers are born. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Wishing you all a restful sleep and wonderful dreams. See you in the next episodes.